Chapter 12:21, Apologizing. The revelation made Chen Xintao's face slightly changed as a prudent look appeared in his eyes. Then, he spoke in a deep tone, "We're in troubling times now. Even though the chance is unlikely, you had better call Howren immediately and ask him if he's related to this incident." Chen Shaw picked up his cell phone, but his call was hung up just as he dialed his son, Chen Howren's phone. "What happened?" asked Chen Xintao. "He didn't pick up my call and just hung up," Chen Shaw replied with a forced smile. Chen Xintao was about to reply when he suddenly noticed a figure coming from the outside. He then nodded. "You're back, Howren. There's something I need to ask you." Chen Howren's lips twitched. He walked to the front of Chen Xintao, knelt down and bitterly said, "I may have made some big mistakes, Grandpa." Chen Xintao and Chen Shaw exchanged glances and a bad feeling grew inside their hearts. Chen Xintao then asked in a deep voice, "Tell me, were you also involved in the incident when Su Xiaoguang offended Tang Xiu?" Chen Howren hesitated and then answered, "I think I've offended him as well, Grandpa." Bam. Although Chen Xintao was very old, his movement when he got up and moved was swift. He kicked Chen Howren's chest and knocked him to the floor, shouting, "Tell me what the hell happened from the start. Do not miss a word." Chen Howren's lips wriggled and he told the whole story. Then, he finally said bitterly, "It was just a small contradiction, but it was Su Xiaoguang who insulted Tang Xiu. I didn't say anything." A cold light flashed in Chen Xintao's eyes. After a few minutes of contemplation, he lit a cigarette, took a deep breath and then said, "Shaw, withdraw the funds of our family and transfer some money to a bank card. Then bring Howren to House Tang's residence to apologize." Chen Shaw hesitated. "But, how much I should prepare, father?" Chen Xintao pinched down the cigarette impatiently and paced back and forth a few times. Then, he shook his head and said, "Forget it. I'll go to House Tang myself. Prepare 1 billion yuan and 2 billion more as a reserve fund." The Tangs used a method to kill a chicken to warn the monkeys, and they aimed their butcher knife to the Sus this time. But our family must not take this incident lightly, so we must move fast to apologize. It's best to make it known to others that our family is bowing our heads to House Tang. I'll do it right away. The money will be prepared in 10 minutes. Chen Shu strode out of the door and disappeared from Chen Xintao's and Chen Howren's sights. Chen Xintao took a deep breath and then looked at his pale grandson, asking him indifferently, "What lesson did you take from this incident?" "I understand the truth that I must never be fooled by false impression and that I must never easily provoke anyone," answered Chen Howren bitterly. Finally, a look of relief appeared on Chen Xintao's face and he nodded. "Take this incident as a good lesson. It's better to spend money to avoid disasters than forever remain ignorant of how deep the world is. Keep in mind that there are always unusual variables behind every strange incident. House Tang left only Tang Yunpeng and Tang Xiu, whereas the rest of them have disappeared, but that doesn't mean they have fallen already. If my guess is correct, they must have a big plan on the motion." "What big plan could it be, Grandpa?" asked Chen Howren. "Who do I ask even if you ask me?" Chen Xintao shook his head. "I can tell some people with quite the background all over China are also pondering about this matter as well." At House Tang's residence, Tang Yunpeng was silently sitting cross-legged in the room in cultivation. However, a knock on the door made him slowly open his eyes and ask in a deep voice, "Is there something up?" "There are some people outside asking to meet you, Patriarch. They are the head of Chen family in Beijing, Chen Xintao, and his grandson, Chen Howren." The voice of his secretary outside the door replied to him. Tang Yunpeng furrowed his brows and looked annoyed. He could just ignore the guest if it was someone else, but Chen Xintao was, after all, the head of an affluent family who also possessed considerable energy in the capital. Therefore, he nodded and said, "All right, take them to the guest room. I'll see them soon." "Understood." The secretary outside the room replied. Then, he came in, approached and said, "Patriarch, I think it's best to call Tang Xiu first. This should be about the incident that happened outside that's related to our house." "I see." After replying, Tang Yunpeng took his mobile phone and inquired about it. A strange expression painted his solemn face after he heard Tang Xiu's explanation. Even though Tang Xiu was not in front of him, he still raised his thumbs up and praised. "You took care of it beautifully, Xiu. I've already accomplished everything I should handle here, first uncle. Things will be much better for our family in the future if you really got transferred to Shanghai later," said Tang Xiu with a chuckle. "I know Duanmu Lin's character. He's always very cautious in doing things, so I'm sure he has taken care of everything since he has said so. I'm going to wait, for now. I believe the decision will come out soon," Tang Yunpeng said. "That would be great, then." Tang Xiu chuckled and then said, "Anyhow, first uncle, I need to leave Beijing tonight for Shanghai to tend to something. Also, I'll carry out another big plan after you come to Shanghai and formally settle down." "What plan?" asked Tang Yunpeng. "Well, I'm keeping it a secret about that for now until you come to Shanghai though." Tang Xiu said, "It's likely that I'm going to need your assistance, so I'll naturally tell you about it later." "Hey, you're really mystifying things, brat." Tang Xiu laughed and then said, "All right, then. I won't ask since you don't want to tell me now. Anyway, the head of Chen family, Chen Xintao, and his grandson, Chen Haoren just came to see me. Their visit should be related to you, shouldn't it?" "Well, I don't have a plan to deal with them at the moment though. You can call the shots if they come to apologize, regardless of the compensation they offer, uncle. But if they come to court more trouble, please contact me and I'll deal with them." Tang Yunpeng then went to the living room after hanging up. But the moment he saw Chen Xintao and Chen Haoren, Chen Xintao directly moved and knelt in front of him. "What are you doing, Patriarch Chen?" Tang Yunpeng intentionally acted surprised and asked. "Yunpeng, we're old acquaintances, but this wastrel grandson of mine has offended Tang Xiu. That's why I came personally and dragged him here to apologize." Chen Xintao wryly smiled. What exactly happened though?" Tang Yunpeng acted bewildered. "It's just a minor spat between youngsters, but I felt that it won't be over so easily." Chen Xintao reluctantly explained, "If anything, House Tang is currently garnering the attention of many people and I'm afraid that those concerned are having wild speculations right now. That's the reason why I brought this good-for-nothing grandson of mine here to apologize. It will also serve as a message to them that House Tang is still the original House Tang and even much stronger." Tang Yunpeng let out a light smile and grabbed Chen Xintao to prop him up. Then, he smilingly said, "It's just a minor fight between children, there's no need for us to get involved as their guardians. Please have a seat, Elder Chen." Instead of taking a seat directly, Chen Xintao took out a bank card and handed it to Tang Yunpeng, saying, "Yunpeng, I know Tang Xiu has a magnanimous personality and he's also a good child, but it's not like he deserves a loss. There's a small sum of money in this card, please take it as a token of apology from my family. The pin is written on the back. Also, please speak well to Tang Xiu about this." About this, Tang Yunpeng put on an awkward expression on purpose. "Doesn't Tang Xiu still listen to your words, Yunpeng?" asked Chen Xintao. "Like he dares not to." Tang Yunpeng immediately blurted out. "I'm still his first uncle and that brat must hear what I tell him." "That's right. It's a virtue of the young to respect their elders, to begin with." Chen Xintao nodded and said, "If anything, it will be up to you to handle this matter. Anyway, it's rather late now, so I won't disturb you anymore." Tang Yunpeng hesitated for a moment and then intentionally asked, "Why don't you stay for a cup of tea, Elder Chen?" "Nah. It's too late already." Chen Xintao shook his head. "I'll invite you to some drinks later." "All right, then. But it will be my treat." Tang Yunpeng sent Chen Xintao and Chen Haoren to the front gate and watched them leave. When his secretary approached, Tang Yunpeng gave him the bank card and said, "Check how much money is in this card." Understood. A few minutes later, his secretary quickly came back and said, "There's 1 billion yuan in it, patriarch." The Chens are really sincere on this matter. Tang Yunpeng raised his brows and immediately said smilingly, "All right, take this bank card and go to the Special Abilities Bureau by yourself and give it to Director Duan Mulin. Tell him that it's a token from House Tang to buy some equipment for the Guardians in the Special Abilities Bureau." Isn't this a bit too much? The secretary hesitated. Tang Yunpeng chuckled. Do you think 1 billion yuan is too much compared to the protection the Special Abilities Bureau provides for our house? No matter how good the personal relationship between Duan Mulin and Tang Xiu, we brought some people from the Special Abilities Bureau to help us. Some people among them must be unhappy due to that. Everyone in the world always seeks profits as it is the most reasonable thing to get involved in anything. It's likely everyone in the Special Abilities Bureau will shut their mouths once we send this money over. You're wise, patriarch. The news that the head of the Chen family, Chen Xintao, brought his grandson, Chen Haoren, to visit House Tang's residence to apologize quickly spread out, and was soon known by many forces and families. It was the Chens themselves who released the news. In that instant, the circle of affluent families in the capital was in an uproar and the news shook many influential families and powerful parties, all over China. The news made them incredulous and they finally realized that House Tang turned out to not have fallen. Even though many of House Tang's members had disappeared, this family was still terrifying. The next day, the news of misfortune that had befallen the Su family and the uproar caused by the apology of the Chen family had yet to fade away, but another piece of news had spread out to every region in China yet again. Tang Yunpeng of House Tang has left his previous post and is now assigned to hold his new post in Shanghai. Due to his outstanding performance and abilities, as well as his professionalism and dedication to the state and the people, he now serves as the deputy of the Ministry of Culture. The moment this news came out, everyone felt a heavy pressure as this foreshadowed that House Tang still had a genuine pillar and still stood as a behemoth, even without its previous patriarch, Tang Guosheng. Chapter 1222, Towards the Stars. The northern part of the country was snowing, but the southern regions were covered by a sunny sky. The boundless horizon over the sky of Shanghai was so clear that its blue sky was as though it had just been washed by water. At Paradise Manor, Tang Xiu was quietly sitting in a 100+ square meters spacious room while holding a cup of hot tea. He looked at the 4 people sitting in front of him, Duan Mulin, Tang Yunpeng, Moe, and Kong Xia. Tang Xiu, we have all drank 2 cups of tea and waited for you for a while here. You told me on the phone that you have a big plan in mind. What exactly is it? Don't keep us guessing here, will you? Duan Mulin put down his teacup with a helpless expression on his aged face. I should have gone to the municipal office to report now, Xiu. But I rushed over directly at your call. Tang Yunpeng nodded and said, Don't blame me if I get mad at you if you don't have anything important. Tang Xiu put down the teacup and smilingly said, I'd like to ask a question first before I get to the important point though. What do you think about the current standard of science and technology on Earth? Duan Mulin and Tang Yunpeng exchanged glances, while Moe and Kong Xia looked confused. They had no idea how to answer Tang Xiu's question. After a long while, Duan Mulin slowly said, Humanity has made rapid progress in science and technology and we have many high-tech products which are much better than in the past. And what about its comparison to the technology in the 3-star vestige? Asked Tang Xiu again. How can it be compared with it? Duan Mulin forced a wry smile and said, It's just worlds apart. If the level of science and tech on Earth can reach the level of tech found in 3-star vestige, it's very likely that we'd have ventured out of Earth towards the stars. That's exactly my point, Tang Xiu said. I invited all of you here today so that humanity can venture out of the Earth and march towards the stars. I want to make a qualitative leap in regards to science and technological power we can control in a decade. I hope that humanity can explore the entire galaxy and form an interstellar fleet in 2 decades. In 3 decades, I hope humanity can develop and govern the entire Milky Way and make it an impregnable bastion, so we can call this star territory our own. Quit joking with us, Tang Shou. Duanmu Lin shook his head and laughed. If science and tech on Earth can reach this level, and if humanity could reach such a situation, that would simply. Suddenly, he noticed a faint smile on Tang Shou's face and the next words got stuck in his throat. Based on what he knew about Tang Shou's character, Tang Shou was not one who liked to talk nonsensical things. He must have confidence that it could be achieved since he mentioned it. But still, wasn't that too far-fetched an idea? Tang Shou took a deep breath and his smile gradually disappeared as he solemnly said, Senior Duanmu, you had your own interest with your duties and I had my own concerns back when we were not on the same boat. That's why I've never told you about one thing. But now, I can tell you about it. What is it? Duanmu Lin's expression shifted and he hurriedly asked. Tang Shou said, do you still remember the 3-star vestige I've explored, the one located at the sea crossroad of Malacca Straits, which west part belongs to Myanmar Sea and its south part connects the South China Sea? The channel length is about 1,080 kilometers long at its southeast lane, connects the Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean. It's the newly discovered 3-star vestige at the bottom of the sea. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Duanmu Lin nodded. This 3-star vestige is opened for a limited time and various countries have been trying to explore and excavate the entire site to obtain more advanced tech, is that right? Said Tang Shou. That's correct. Duanmu Lin nodded again. People in all countries are said to be at a loss on how to deal with this vestige, but I can tell you that this 3-star vestige is completely under my control, Tang Shou said. You can say that I'm its owner and I can use every tech there. From which I also obtained the smart brain of this vestige, which contains a lot of scientific and technological knowledge, far beyond the level of Earth. If I have 3 conditions fulfilled, which are time, funds, and manpower, I can also create a high-tech world. Come again. Shock covered Duanmu Lin's face as he looked at Tang Shou with disbelief. He couldn't help trembling despite having formidable strength. You haven't heard wrong, Tang Shou said with all seriousness. I have full control of the 3-star vestige and I can enter and leave the remains at any time. You can say that I own all the tech products there and I can even use all the scientific and technological knowledge stored there. Senior Duanmu, to tell you the truth, that vestige is actually a huge interstellar battleship and I can control it completely. I can even activate and drive it out of Earth into the depths of the universe. Duanmu Lin gulped down. He could hardly express his emotions when he looked at Tang Shou's serious face. It was an utter shock that brought along with it a horrifying feeling. If Tang Shou's claims were true, then he was absolutely capable of becoming the true master of Earth if he did something behind his back. Facing such fearsome advanced scientific and technological power, humanity's technological level was simply like garbage and could be easily destroyed. Tang Yunpeng glanced at Duanmu Lin before his eyes focused on Tang Shou. He then asked seriously, what exactly do you want to do, Shou? My departure from Earth in the future is inevitable, Tang Shou said. Inevitably, all members of the Tang sect will also follow me, including the 4 of you. But Earth is our roots and the place where I grew up. We can leave this place, but I must guarantee that it will exist forever. I do not wish to see it destroyed when I return someday, nor do I want to see humanity go extinct. Of course, there's also another possibility that could happen in about a few decades, centuries, or millenniums after we leave, where we'll find that humanity has been invaded by some other races in the universe. The weak dwellers of Earth may become slaves or even the livestock for these extraterrestrials. Either that or humans on Earth have all been massacred completely. I may not a great man, but I want to give Earth a contingency plan and a guarantee before I leave. At least humanity can protect itself when facing a powerful alien race. That's why possessing formidable and advanced science and tech is a must. Humanity must control a wide range of territory, at least the entire Milky Way. I want to build countless forces and a formidable defense network, as well as an interstellar armada to make the entire Milky Way an impregnable bastion. Tang Yunpeng, MOE, and Kong Xia abruptly got up with shocked expressions. Deep respect aroused in their hearts, and they heavily nodded at Tang Xiu. To protect their homes and country. Tang Xiu was a formidable individual, but he also considered the possibility of his home being invaded by aliens in the future. Such a character, as well as the thoughts to prepare for such rainy days, was truly admirable. Please elaborate more about your idea, Tang Xiu, Duanmu Lin asked slowly. I need a secret base, one that is large enough, remote and inaccessible. Tang Xiu said, the next step would be to invest enormous financial and material resources along with manpower. Within the first 2 years, set up a school to teach them the scientific and technological knowledge in the 3-star vestige as fast as possible. At the same time, we also need to build secret bases to manufacture interstellar battleships and train the needed soldiers to man these ships. Do you want to carry this project yourself, or do you want to mobilize the entire country machine to carry it out? Asked Duanmu Lin again. This is not the kind of work that can be carried out by individuals, Tang Xiu said. I will need the support of the country, but the confidentiality of the project must be put at the highest level. In the future, be it the manufactured starships, or the starship troopers we train, all of them must belong to our country. It would be impossible to conceal it if you make such big movements for the project at this scale in a short time, Duanmu Lin spoke again. Moreover, the number of resources required is so colossal that it won't be realistic to carry this out while maintaining full secrecy. Give me 10 years. Tang Xiu said in a deep tone, I'll preside over the overall situation and you will assist me in handling this issue. I'll then hand over the bases to the country 10 years later. I need to report this to the higher-ups first, Duanmu Lin said. That would be great. It'd best if I can talk to them in person, Tang Xiu said. Duanmu Lin got up and said, Tang Xiu, I'll invite the 3 seniors of the state. And I'm looking forward to future development if you can convince them. All right. Tang Xiu nodded and sent Duanmu Lin off. Afterward, there were only Tang Xiu, Tang Yunpeng, MOE, and Kong Xia remaining in the room. Tang Xiu looked at Tang Yunpeng and said, First uncle, I admit that this decision was made due to my selfishness. It is my hope that you can also go further in the future. The Tang family needs escort from you for the purpose. Tang Yunpeng nodded. No worries. Tang Xiu then shifted to MOE and said, Professor Mo, you're a scientist and expert researcher. I hope you can become the chief engineer for the following major plan. I need you to form a team of technical personnel from which the starships will be manufactured in the future. Tang Xiu, you have my word that I'll live up to your expectations on this one. I'm ready to sacrifice the short remaining years of my life for it, MOE replied excitedly. Well, that will be all, then. Tang Xiu laughed and said, Professor E, first uncle, you both can tend to your business and prepare in advance. I believe it won't be long before this plan will be approved. Tang Yunpeng patted Tang Xiu's shoulder and directly left. Only after he and MOE disappeared from the room did Tang Xiu look at Kong Xia. Kong Xia didn't utter any words. They were now the only ones left here, so she went straight to him and hugged him gently. She exerted her strength and hugged him tighter. Tang Xiu patted her shoulder and chuckled. Dear, we're going to be much busier with the magnificent Tang Corporation since I will need a colossal amount of money and wealth. Let alone 1 trillion, even 100 trillion and 1 quintillion yuan won't be enough for our purpose. I stubbornly believed that you're the best man in the world back then, Kong Xia murmured. My vision back then proved out to be true now. From now on, I'll be in charge of making money and you'll be responsible for handling the rest of the affairs. Chapter 1223, A Pocket World. The moonlight was as though sprinkling water that inundated the earth. After getting occupied with many issues in the last few days, Tang Xiu finally took a short break. The atmosphere of love was thick as he began taking off his clothes. Bang zzzt. All of a sudden, the whole world seemed to shake, while the doors, windows, and lamps also vibrated. Even the firm-footed bed also rocked. Tang Xiu raised his finger and swore that he and Kong Xia were not the culprits who made everything shake. What's going on? With a flushed face, Kong Xia quickly looked at the window. Tang Xiu slightly frowned and quickly got dressed and moved in a flash to the window. When he looked at the scenery outside, he saw that many people had rushed out of their own dwellings under the dim light, looking around and looked to be at a loss. Was it an earthquake? Tang Xiu furrowed his brows. He could still feel the faint tremors, the likes that were very similar to tremors caused by an earthquake. Grand Master. Tang silently appeared next to him and called out in a low voice. What happened? Do you know the cause of the tremors? Asked Tang Xiu. I have no idea about it either. Tang shook her head and said, the tremors hit the entire neighborhood and can be felt by everyone else. Could it be a normal earthquake? It's unlikely, else it would have caused a big disaster already. Tang Xiu shook his head. Having said that, he dialed Jinshi's cell number and asked in a deep tone, where are you? I'm currently in Heilongjiang province, Sect Master, answered Jinshi. A tremor just hit Shanghai. Immediately contact the intel operatives in Shanghai to investigate what happened here, Tang Xiu ordered. Pardon? Jinshi exclaimed and hurriedly said, you said Shanghai was just hit by the tremors too? The same thing is happening on my side as well, just like an earthquake. Tang Xiu was silent. The tremors hit the northern part of the country as well as Shanghai. It gave him a bad feeling. Because he worried that the tremors happened across the country. If it did, then major events would inevitably occur. I'll carry out the investigation right away, Sect Master. Jinshi immediately broke the ice after noticing Tang Xiu's long pause. Contact those in charge of each city in the country and ask the situations on their side and pass the reports to me as quickly as possible, said Tang Xiu finally. Only 5 minutes had passed when Jinshi returned the call. His face turned grim after hearing the report since the information from Jinshi said that the tremors were felt all over China, a sign that it wasn't an ordinary event and there was likely a huge danger looming in China. Ring, ring, ring. The urgent ringtone suddenly rang from his cell phone. Tang Xiu quickly grabbed it and was a bit stunned and surprised after seeing the caller displayed on the screen. Chen Xiaohua. Tang Xiu pondered for a short while. He then pressed the answer button and asked, did something happen? Chen Xiaohua's voice replied from the phone, we got a situation here, Sect Master. What is it? Asked Tang Xiu in a deep voice as his heart dropped. You assigned me to send some experts to be stationed near the Longquan Mountain in the western region to guard the pocket world there back then, and I just received news from there. Something huge must have happened in that pocket world as tens of fierce beasts were seen rushing out of the entrance. A few of them are seemingly rushing towards the periphery of Longquan Mountain and will likely pose a huge threat to the civilians outside. Tang Xiu's complexion changed and he asked in a heavy tone, did the tremors happen there as well?
Yeah.
It's quite strong and nearly reached a magnitude of 4 or 5, Chen Xiaohua answered. Tang Xiu's pupils shrunk. He immediately realized that the source of the tremor occurring all over China. It was very likely caused by Longquan Mountain in the western region. With almost no hesitation, he ordered in a deep voice, I'm heading there right away. Contact everyone over there to stand guard at Longquan Mountain and don't let any of those fierce beasts leave the mountain range, lest ordinary people see them. Understood. I'll notify everyone there immediately. Further, I'll be heading to the Pocket World's entrance at Longquan Mountain within an hour, replied Chen Xiaohua quickly. Be careful. Tang Xiu hung up and then turned to Kong Xia behind him. He then spoke to her in a deep voice, I must leave Shanghai. You stay here to tend to your work. Also, pay more attention to the construction project of Magnificent Tang Corporation, SHQ in Shanghai, and tell the developer and the construction team to speed up. If possible, divide the work into 3 shifts, I want it finished in the shortest possible time. We need to move our HQ and factories to Shanghai completely. Roger. I get it. Kong Xia nodded. Tang Xiu left Paradise Manor and quickly contacted Duanmu Lin and told him about the situation. Then, he finally said, I don't know exactly what happened in that pocket world, so I'm heading there as fast as I can. Senior Duanmu, it's best that you head over there too if you can, and assign some people to block the entire Longquan Mountain to ensure that no fierce beast breaks out. Otherwise, it will cause harm to the natives there. I'm heading there at once, Duanmu Lin replied. Also, you're still in Shanghai, aren't you? I'll send someone to pick you up by chopper to get you there as quickly as possible. All right. Tang Xiu curtly replied. 4 hours later, Tang Xiu was escorted by a military helicopter and finally arrived near Longquan Mountain after stopping over at some places along the way. Only Tang An followed him this time, but both were very powerful and quickly entered the interior of the mountain range after jumping off the army chopper. Quickly after, Tang Xiu and Tang An halted their advance when a figure appeared in front of them. It was Chen Xiaohua who had arrived here ahead of time. The man was drenched wet in blood at this moment and seemed to have just crawled out from a blood pond. However, there was a piece of scaly flesh on his shoulder which should be from a fierce beast. Brief me the current situation. Tang Xiu dashed towards Chen Xiaohua's front and inquired while his hand quickly took out a holy healing pill from the interspatial ring, and stuffed it into the man's mouth. Chen Xiaohua quickly swallowed the pill and shot a grateful look at Tang Xiu. He didn't even wait for the medicine to be absorbed fully and hurriedly said, the number of fierce beasts rushing out of that pocket world keeps increasing and I only brought 12 people here. Added with those who have been stationed here, we only have 16 people in total. We have killed hundreds of fierce beasts in the last 4+ hours, but these beasts are too scattered and we can't stop them all. However, the intel department just contacted me and they are sure that no fierce beasts have rushed out of the forested mountain range, so no disaster will happen to the locals living in the vicinity. At least for the time being. That's good to hear. Tang Xiu nodded and said, I've notified some people from the state about this. We can expect to have a large number of experts here soon. By the way, is there anyone from our side watching the entrance to that pocket world? We only have a few people here, but we do have some staying there. It's just that we have hidden the fallen ones secretly. Chen Xiaohua replied, they immediately moved to kill these fierce beasts if the number that rushing out was few. I told them to avoid the beasts if their number is too many and too strong for them to face. How long does it take to get there from here? Asked Tang Xiu. About 1.5 hours, Chen Xiaohua said. Tang Xiu then grabbed his shoulder and said, show me the way. I'll take you there. Reaching the pocket world's entrance indeed would take 1.5 hours according to Chen Xiaohua's speed, since his cultivation was only at the golden core stage. However, Tang Xiu's speed was extremely fast and it took him only 20 minutes while towing Chen Xiaohua. Sect Master. 4 disciples of Tang sect in black robes and swords in their hands immediately approached and greeted. Tang Xiu looked at the scars on their bodies and took out 4 holy healing pills and gave it to them each. Then, he said, you've worked hard. How is the situation here? The total number of fierce beasts 1,160, Sect Master. One of them respectfully answered, some of them are very strong, and from their aura, we estimate that these particular ones should be comparable to a golden core stage cultivator. The rest of these fierce beasts only have very average strength, with only a few comparable to foundation establishment stage, while most of them are only at the qi refining stage. Tang Xiu nodded without a word. Then, he looked at Chen Xiaohua and said, keep hunting and killing these fierce beasts. Jinshi and all members of the Tang sect in the mainland will be here soon. Keep this interspatial ring and store all the remains of the fierce beasts you've slain. Chen Xiaohua's eyes lit up and immediately received it excitedly. He had heard about the rumors that every Tang sect disciples who had received an interspatial ring from Tang Xiu would finally keep the ring as their private property. Prior to this, he had been dreaming of having such an interspatial ring. However, he hadn't performed many merits yet, so he never had the chance to obtain it. But now, his dreams had finally come true. Tang Xiu shifted to Tang'an and said, "We're going to enter this pocket world. I want to see what's exactly going on inside." "No, you can't, sect master." Before Tang'an replied to Tang Xiu, Chen Xiaohua got startled and hurriedly called out to stop him. "What's wrong?" Tang Xiu frowned. "I entered this pocket world previously, sect master. That's why I know how dangerous it is inside." Chen Xiaohua hurriedly replied, "Especially that black dragon I found there. That thing is simply horribly terrifying. This subordinate can't let sect master go inside personally and take the risk." Tang Xiu patted his shoulder with a smile and said, "I understand your concern, but don't worry about that. My present power is much stronger than before. I can still protect myself even if I'm not a match for that black dragon." Chen Xiaohua opened his mouth and wanted to speak out more, but after seeing Tang Xiu's eyes turn sharp, he finally swallowed back the words he was about to say and nodded wordlessly. Tang Xiu then shifted his vision to the entrance while secretly raising his vigilance. As he entered, he spoke to Tang'an, who followed him, "Remember to withdraw at once if you sense something wrong. Many pocket worlds have a lot of treasure, but they are also fraught with fatal dangers." Chapter 1224, Black Dragon. The dim passage was not man-made but naturally formed. It was very spacious and the air was fresh. Slash. A swordbeam flashed and decapitated two fierce beasts. Eyes glittering with cold light, Tang Xiu walked to the remains of the beast and slowly said, "It's strange. The space in the passage is so stable that it makes me rather alarmed. Not to mention that these fierce beasts do not exist on Earth. They are like new species, with the exception of being weaker in strength. There's also something else noticeable." "What else did you find, Grand Master?" asked Tang'an curiously. "If my conjecture is correct, we directly entered another space right as we stepped into this passage. Take a look at the wall closely. You'll find the difference," Tang Xiu said in a deep voice. "The wall?" Tang'an approached the wall and carefully observed it for a while. Then, she nodded and said, "There's something strange with the wall indeed, Grand Master. It's neither made of soil nor stones, but another special material. It's very similar to concrete if we must find a comparison for it. Hit the wall with your weapon, but remember not to use your full force," Tang Xiu ordered. Tang'an hesitated for a moment, then she turned her hand and grabbed a dagger and powerfully stabbed the wall in front of her. Her dagger was a magic weapon with peerless sharpness that could cut iron as if it was butter. However, her dagger was stuck after it pierced the wall for half an inch. "How is this possible?" Tang'an exclaimed. She previously had thought that her dagger would be able to pierce the wall easily, as easy as cutting tofu. But the wall in front of her was nearly as hard as a diamond. Precisely speaking, it was even harder than a diamond. Yet, some plants were seen growing in several cracks on this hard wall. Tang Xiu collected the carcass of two fierce beasts into the interspatial ring and then said, "I think we can expect to see more interesting things inside. Let's go ahead. But remember to activate your invisibility and hide behind the space barrier if something is wrong." Tang'an was about to reply when her expression suddenly changed and said in horror, "Grand Master, I can only exert 1/10 of my space ability here compared to the outside. Heaven! The space barrier here is really too solid. It will take me lots of energy to even tear up a crack. I can only hide by myself at most, but I won't be able to take you into the space barrier. Tang Xiu didn't speak again and quickly advanced towards the other end of the passage. He finally saw the light at the end after walking for about 2 kilometers. This place. Tang An stood next to Tang Xiu and looked around at the world in front of her. It was a vast and seemingly endless prairie with lots of flocks of fierce beasts. She even saw a few fierce beasts nearly the size of hills. Tang Xiu tilted up his head and looked at the sun in the sky. The blob of light was unexpectedly purple-colored, making his heart pound. It was because he had once read a record in the Immortal world about such purple sun. The eastern purple qi was said to be an auspicious portent and the force behind fate. It was also said as the purest essence of energy between heaven and earth, and any cultivator who absorbed this purple energy would obtain great benefits from heaven. Thus, finding such a world filled with purple qi literally everywhere was truly unexpected for Tang Xiu. Even just taking a breath of the air gave him a relaxed and peaceful sensation. The concentration of spiritual energy here is at least 10 times that of the outside world. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and suddenly had the urge to move the Tang Sec's base from Nine Dragons Island to this place. He realized that cultivating here would definitely be better than there. Roar! A harsh and jarring cry came from the distant sky as a dazzling golden pung bird dived down from the sky and grabbed a huge fierce beast on the ground and then soared again. Its sharp talons easily tore the body of the mammoth fierce beast during the dive and purple blood splattered from its body, as though a rain of purple water was falling. Tang Xiu's pupils flickered and his figure suddenly bolted forward in a flash. He quickly reached the speed limit he could achieve and caused several fierce beasts comparable to a golden core stage expert to suddenly streak up to the sky and storm toward him. Scram! Tang Xiu roared and instantly unleashed his divine sword. The torrential sword beam burst out like cascading waves and directly slew these tens of fierce beasts that blocked his path. Several seconds after, he dashed forward for tens of miles and threw out rows of jade bottles from his interspatial ring to contain the purple blood from the sky. After filling up more than 200 bottles, he quickly poured one bottle into his mouth. Buzz! The surging energy torrentially swarmed in and burst out in his stomach as a scalding heat wave, making all the fine hairs all over his body to burn. Purify and refine. Tang Xiu roared and instantly circulated his heavenly arts of cosmic genesis to the fullest. Along with the torrential surge of his primal chaos force to circulate in the meridians of his body, he burst out his aura, causing the thousands of fierce beasts in the surroundings to howl in fear and flee in all directions. The heatwave and the enormous energy of purple qi rapidly ran through his limbs and bones all over his body. Tang Xiu felt like he had turned into a flaming man. Although it made him terrified, he could feel that the universe inside his body was quaking while refining the enormous energy from the purple qi, and transformed it into primal chaos energy that quickly flowed into the planets inside him. 1 planet. 2 planets. 10 planets. 99 planets. The entire 99 heavenly bodies began to inflate crazily, a situation that, given Tang Xiu's cultivation speed, would have taken at least hundreds of years of arduous cultivation to make these 99 planets grow to the size of more than 10 meters in diameter. That was also on the premise that his cultivation speed progressed faster than normal. But now, these 99 heavenly bodies were literally getting bigger in nearly an instant. After tasting the benefits given by the purple blood rain, Tang Xiu quickly downed the remaining 200 bottles of purple blood and all of them sharply grew to more than 10 meters in diameter. 7 days passed and Tang Xiu looked like he had turned into a demonic god as he stood still in midair 100 meters high, while an enormous aura overflowed from him. During this time, tens of fierce beasts that were comparable to nascent soul stage experts could feel Tang Xiu's enormous pressing aura, and all quietly retreated in fear. Roar! A violent roar of a dragon came from the distant sky. Tang Xiu, who was deeply immersed in cultivation, was abruptly awakened by this dragon's roar. My power! As he snapped back to reality, Tang Xiu felt the surge of power in his body and disbelief overflowed in his eyes. He never expected to break through to the 9th small stage, the last small stage of the Star Heavenly Essence stage. Another breakthrough in this stage meant that he could directly enter the 3rd stage of the heavenly arts of cosmic genesis. The 9th small stage? Tang Xiu suddenly recalled that him breaking through to the 9th small stage of the Star Heavenly Essence stage meant that he was now comparable to the Great Ascension stage experts. But if he kept progressing in his cultivation and became stronger, he could even contend with experts at the Crossing Tribulation stage. Further, he would possess strength comparable to ordinary immortals once he broke through to the 3rd stage, the Star Essence integration. It's coming. A cold light flashed across his eyes. He could clearly hear the dragon's roar just now. The instant after, a 100-meter-high black dragon appeared before his eyes and moved towards him threateningly. In particular, the bursting aura coming out from this dragon was truly terrifying. At the same time, it scared the fierce beasts within 100 miles of the surrounding area and made them flee further in all directions. Human? A human entered this place? The 100-meter-long black dragon made a grotesque expression and fixedly stared at Tang Xiu. Suddenly, it said, "You're neither of this world nor from the world outside. Your soul imprint, strange, where did you come from?" "You can see through my soul mark?" asked Tang Xiu with a frown. The black dragon uproariously laughed. "Not only can this sacred being see through your soul imprint, but I also can see through your power. But it's strange, indeed. You're a human yet you practice a cultivation art belonging to the demon race. That's interesting, truly interesting. Even that demon race's cultivation art you're practicing is very unusual and extraordinary, but a branch that emphasizes physical tempering. Son of human, do you really want to kill yourself that much?" Tang Xiu narrowed his eyes and indifferently replied, "I naturally don't want to die, so I've been cultivating well enough." "Black dragon, there's no way you're a creature born from this pocket world, right? Else, you wouldn't have been able to speak in the human language, especially Mandarin. Further, you also know the demon race and their cultivation system." The black dragon spurted a dragon breath and shook its head, saying, "This sacred being naturally is not a native of this pocket world. There's no way this pocket world that has just been born for hundreds of thousands of years can have such a sacred being like me. I spent 100,000 years of metamorphosis before I finally recovered my body and only now can I escape from this trap." "Where are you from?" asked Tang Xiu. "Of course it's the dragon realm," the black dragon replied. Tang Xiu's expression changed and he said in a deep voice, "The Black Dragon clan has been banished by the Five-Claws Divine Dragon to the Ashura realm after violating the laws of the Dragon realm, and have been dragging out their feeble existence since." "How did you get here? You even stayed here for over 100,000 years according to what you just said." A sinister aura blasted out from the black dragon as it furiously roared, "Shut the hell up. The ancestors of my Black Dragon clan may have violated the rules of the ancestors, but it was all because of those dragon royalty bastards who are afraid of the talent and strength of my Black Dragon clan. They just framed us and used it as a pretext to banish us from the dragon realm. How did a human brat like you know the secret history of the dragon race? What's your origin?" "I'm from the immortal world. You can say I just had a rebirth and transmigrated here," Tang Xiu said. "Humph," the black dragon snorted. "You can deceive other dragons, but you can't deceive this sacred being. You would have retained your cultivation art from the immortal world after you've transmigrated instead of cultivating a cultivation art from the demon race. What a huge joke. Forget it. This sacred being is about to escape from this trap and I don't want to be bothered by a bug like you. I'll kill you first since I haven't tasted human blood for the last 100,000 years." Chapter 12:25, Slaying the Dragon. Hidden killing intent flickered in Tang Xiu's eyes as he stared at the 100-meter-long black dragon and fiercely said, "No feud and nothing whatsoever between us, yet you want to kill me and taste my blood? It seems what's been told in the legends is true. The Black Dragon clan is indeed an evil one among the dragon race, and they deserve to be slaughtered. The Black Dragon let out a loud dragon roar once again and laughed in madness. Why should I be a benevolent dragon when my Black Dragon clan has been labeled as wicked evil by humans and immortals alike? Cut the damn crap. This sacred being won't bother to exchange spat with bugs like you even though I've never talked with humans for hundreds of millenniums. Having said that, it opened its huge mouth and blasted out a monstrous black flame that swept over fast and appeared in front of Tang Xiu, in the blink of an eye. What a wicked beast. You're dead. A cold, chilling voice came from the passage to the pocket world along with a violent cold stream. Gu Yan in her fluttering white dress suddenly appeared in front of Tang Xiu while controlling a top-grade immortal sword, as thin as a cicada's wing that brought with it immense power. The sword instantly blasted out a 10,000-meter-long sword beam that slashed to the sky and cleaved the black flame. An immortal? The Black Dragon shiveringly murmured as a bit of dread filled its huge eyes. It received grave injuries 100,000 years ago and only barely recovered some of its strength, after spending 100 millenniums to hibernate and recuperate. But its present strength was only less than 1% than its prime and only comparable to an ordinary immortal who had just ascended to the immortal world. It could keenly sense that the woman who suddenly appeared was definitely more than just an ordinary immortal. The 10,000-meter-long sword beam that cleaved the sea of flame into halves struck the Black Dragon's forehead, causing it to shriek in pain. Gu Yan then burst into laughter happily. This small world is really great. I can finally unleash all of my power here without that damn heavenly Dao law restriction outside, though my current power is just 1/10,000 of my prime. The Black Dragon's huge body was sent flying backward after getting struck by the sword strike. The severe pain made it howl miserably. But Gu Yan's words made its heart sink to the bottom. January 10th, 000? Her present power is but only January 10th, 000 from her heyday? How can that be? Could it be? The Black Dragon pulled up his courage and roared, "Respected immortal. Could it be that you were once a perfected golden immortal in the immortal world?" Gu Yan brandished her sword again and sneered. Perfected golden immortal, huh? You're right, I once slew over than 10 perfected golden immortals and massacred over than 10,000 golden immortals before. You're not weak indeed, trivial Black Dragon. Given the imprint of your immortal soul, you should have the power of a golden immortal before. Pity that you're still like a bug in my eyes. The Black Dragon was scared to death and finally understood why his inborn magical ability was useless against this woman's power. It turned out that her power was at the perfected golden immortal level previously. That can't be. That human. Humph, Gu Yan sneered. I know what you want to say. But my master was once a supreme in the immortal world, though he turned this way due to special reasons. Yet, an evil beast like you want to kill my master? You're simply asking to die. Tang Xiu, who floated in midair and watched as Gu Yan beat the Black Dragon, could only feel a wry and bitter feeling inwardly. He used to wield fearsome power that made him stand aloof at the summit and above myriads of walks of life in the immortal world. It never occurred to him back then that even a trivial Black Dragon would bully him someday. Certainly, even though he didn't have the confidence to fight this Black Dragon and win, escaping was still within his capability. But if he chose to do so, this Black Dragon would come after him and it would be very likely that it would wreak havoc and spell calamity to humanity, on the entire earth. Yen, kill it. I need its remains for cultivation. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and said aloud. No worries, master. Gu Yan chuckled. I'll definitely slay this bug since it has the intention to kill you. The Black Dragon was scared to death at this moment. He endured humiliation to save its own skin for 100,000 years. It was all just to recover its original form and power so that it could return to the Ashura realm to slay all its enemies in the future. However, It never expected that it would encounter a terrifying enemy that could erase its existence before its strength fully recovered, or even left this pocket world. It shouldn't have ended like this. Regrets consuming its mind due to its previous action. The dragon felt that it shouldn't have threatened this seemingly weak human, else it wouldn't have annoyed such a terrifying enemy. Time elapse, space overlaps. Gu Yan chanted a chilling line and the hazy sword image instantly split into two. Overlapping ripples burst out and cascaded in the air, but the black dragon discovered with fear that its body seemed to be trapped in the mud and, no matter how hard it struggled, its body was as though being bound by the space power. One thing that the black dragon felt very confident of was not its present strength but its formidable body. However, after its body was cleaved into halves and its last wisp of consciousness fleeted away, only regrets filled its whole being for having a rash and greedy character that finally led to a disaster to itself. Whoosh! Tang Xiu's figure fluttered forward. He conjured a secret technique and unleashed every container-type object from his interspatial ring, be it jade bottles, porcelain vases, and many others to contain the scattered dragon blood. Seal. Tang Xiu cast another technique to gather the black dragon's remains and sealed it up to prevent more of its blood from flowing out. Devour this dragon's soul, Yen. Tang Xiu flicked his fingers after he fully contained all the scattered dragon's blood into the containers and stored them. He quickly sealed up the dragon soul that attempted to flee from its body and then threw it to Gu Yan. Gu Yan caught the dragon soul and hurriedly said, "You need to restore your own power too, master. Please devour this dragon soul directly. You can at least reach the late stage of crossing tribulation in a short time. You can start preparing to ascend after you've solidified your power by then." No, Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "I already obtained tremendous opportunity after coming to this world and my current power is now comparable to the great ascension stage. Having another breakthrough to the late stage of crossing tribulation would be a bit too much. Yen, what I need now is to solidify my foundation first, rather than rushing to break through to a higher level. Besides, you still have severe injuries to treat and you just unleashed your power to slay that black dragon. It's best for you to devour it so you can heal your injuries better. Then, I'll put away this dragon soul and wait for you to stabilize your cultivation at the Great Ascension stage, first before you can devour this dragon soul later." Gu Yan insisted. Tang Xiu frowned and said, "Listen to me and swallow it immediately, Yen." Seeing Tang Xiu's solemn expression, she felt deeply moved. She no longer hesitated and directly swallowed the sealed dragon soul. After circulating her power according to her cultivation technique, she finally suppressed the struggling dragon soul and continuously refined it. Eventually, the energy from the dragon soul was extracted to heal her injuries, nourishing her immortal physique, as well as restoring her power further. 2 days later. Tang Xiu and Tang An had explored many places in this pocket world, but they hadn't managed to find its boundaries at all. Therefore, Tang Xiu conjectured that this pocket world was quite large and far beyond his previous estimation. He also obtained a colossal amount of cultivation resources in these 2 days, be it medicinal herbs, precious minerals, as well as other precious treasures. The cultivation resources here are enough for all disciples in the Tang sect for the next 100 years. If we can get all the resources in this pocket world, I think it's still enough to support Tang sect for thousands of years even if it becomes 100 times bigger than it is now. Tang Xiu was extremely satisfied. Tang An was also very excited. Tang Xiu gave her a few bottles of the purple blood from the fierce beast before. Her strength increased greatly after she took a bottle and broke through to the late stage of the nascent soul, after cultivating for 8+ days. She even felt that she would be able to break through to the spirit formation stage once she took the remaining few bottles of purple blood, and reaching the spirit formation stage was her biggest goal in the coming decades. Sure enough, following Grandmaster will make anyone's cultivation speed extremely fast. The others will be envious if they learn that I've broken through to the late stage of the nascent soul, won't they? Tang An was quite excited every time she thought about it. She didn't like to show off, but she couldn't help but have the impulse to show it off to the rest of the elders in Tang's sect. Whoosh! A hazy figure flickered and appeared in front of Tang Xiu and Tang An. It was Gu Yan in her usual white dress. She shot a satisfied look at Tang An. Then, she shifted to Tang Xiu and smilingly said, "Most of my injuries have healed after devouring the dragon soul, master. I'll be able to fully recover in half a year, though my lost power can't be restored in a short time. My current power is at the level of a peak stage Earth Immortal, but restoring my power to the Celestial Immortal stage would take much longer time." Her report made Tang Xiu happy and he said, "There's no immortal spiritual energy in this place. It will be difficult for you to recover your power to the Celestial Immortal stage without it. Nonetheless, staying here to cultivate will be greatly beneficial for you, and I think you'll able to recover your power to the level of Celestial Immortal stage in 10 years, maybe less." Gu Yan's smile turned extremely bright. She nodded in response and said, "The space barrier of this pocket world is very solid and it won't collapse even if the world outside is destroyed. Furthermore, this place has a rich concentration of purple qi which is very beneficial to cultivators and immortals alike. I'm confident that I can restore my cultivation to the peak stage of Celestial Immortal in a decade, master. Keep your pace on it." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "The more strength you recover, the safer we will be in the future. Also, come with me when I leave this pocket world later. I need you to use your spiritual sense to help me find the rest of the zodiac jade carvings. I'll be able to set up a large spatial array that can send all of us to the immortal world, as long as we find the full 12 sets of these zodiac jade carvings." Gu Yan hesitated. "Restoring my power to the level of Celestial Immortal stage won't be a problem, master. But I'll be suppressed by the heavenly Tao laws once I go out. Even if I can find the rest of the zodiac jade carvings in a very short time, I'm bound to get injured as well.